that boy.
I'm hungry. I need food.
How are your eyes?
They hurt.
Well, I can't bring you anything to eat. You'll have to wait.
Is there someone upstairs who will see you bring me food?
Don't you worry about that.
If you weren't gonna feed me, why'd you even come down here?
Just to look at you.
Hello, everyone. I am Sean, and welcome once again to my Horror Corner. Thank you so much for watching the video today. I know I say that every time, but I really do appreciate you guys taking time out of your day to watch my video and listen to me for, 20 to 30 minutes talk about these horror movies. The channel has been really growing. I'm so appreciative of that. So for those of you who have subscribed, a special thank you to you. As of this morning, I'm recording this on May 24th. And as of right now, I have 59 subscribers. Again, I know there's channels out there with a whole lot more, but just the fact that there are 59 people out there who have subscribed to the channel and follow along with what I'm doing and keep track of this, it really does mean the world to me. So thank you all so very, very much. And, I'm so excited to, I've talked about it a little bit. I think I mentioned it on a couple of previous episodes, but in just a couple of days now, this episode will drop on the 29th, I believe. And so then just a couple of days from then, I will have my first live. I haven't done a live thing before. Really looking forward to that. It's going to be a lot of fun. Going to have some friends on, Brendan and Sam from Our Life in Horror, Bo and hopefully Kayla from Critic After Dark, and possibly Aaron from A&B Horror Movies. I've talked with all of them. They may all come on with me and us be on for an hour, 2 hours, chatting with you, and also talking about our 5 favorite shark movies as we get ready to kick off summertime. So I'm really looking forward to that. My first live. A little nervous about it because I haven't done that before, but still really looking forward to it. So that kind of gives you an idea of what's coming on the channel. But today, we are going to be talking about The Black Phone from 2021. The Black Phone, I did not see this in theaters when it first came out. This movie came out kind of during all of the COVID stuff. And so I just remember watching this on streaming. And to be honest with you, my first viewing of this film, I was very mid with this movie in the beginning. I didn't dislike the film. I just didn't think it was great either. It was fine, but just kind of mid. When I previously had my YouTube channel, I planned on doing a review of this then. I was going to go back and rewatch it and do a review of it at that time. And just had so many things going on at that particular time in my life and ended up shutting the channel down and just trying to concentrate on some things. And so when I started back up in October of last year and just kind of started brand new at this, I always knew at some point I would get to this film. And do a rewatch and talk about it. I don't know why. It was just one that I had heard so many things about it and really wanted to cover it at some point. So I just rewatched this movie for the second time this morning. I'd seen bits and pieces of it here and there, but I'd never really sat down and watched it from beginning to end until this morning, and so got a chance to rewatch it. And yeah, it's going to be interesting and fun to talk about today. Let me get a quick drink of coffee. Don't make fun of my mug. This was a gift to me. I grew up watching the original Scooby-Doo cartoons, and then, of course, everyone that knows me knows I'm a huge slasher fan. And probably my 6 favorite slashers are Freddy, Michael, Leatherface, Chucky, Ghostface, and Jason. Not in any particular order. That's just probably my 6 favorites. And so we had gone to me and friend and my brother, I think my oldest son, just a group of us had gone to a haunted house last year, and they were selling shirts and cups and that kind of thing. And I'm a coffee addict, and so my friend saw this mug over there and bought this for me. And yeah, I think I drink my iced coffee out of it just about every day. So I love this mug. Don't make fun of it. Just accept it. All right, let me get started now. So put my glasses on so I can read. I'm getting old here. All right, there we go. Quick overview for the film The Black Phone. If you haven't seen this movie, I believe it is streaming on Peacock. So if you want to watch the movie before listening to me, I always say don't turn this off. Just hit pause, go watch the movie on Peacock, and then come back and listen to me talk about it. I typically bring my movie in here. I own this one on Blu-ray. I typically bring it in here, show it. Just completely forgot to bring it in the room with me today, but I own this on Blu-ray. So yeah, if you haven't seen the film yet and you need to, it is available on Peacock. If you have seen it or you don't mind, just stay right here and listen with me, okay? Quick overview of the film. Finney, a shy but clever 13-year-old boy, is abducted by a sadistic killer and trapped in a soundproof basement where screaming is of little use. When a disconnected phone on the wall begins to ring, Finney discovers that he can hear the voices of the killer's previous victims, and they are dead set on making sure that what happened to them doesn't happen to Finney. Yeah, quick overview there for The Black Phone. The movie was released September 25th of 2021 at the Fantastic Fest in Austin, Texas, and then was released June 24th of 2022 in the U.S. Directed by Scott Derrickson, screenplay by Scott Derrickson and C. Robert Cargill. It's based on the short story The Black Phone, written by Joe Hill, produced by Jason Blum, Scott Derrickson, and C. Robert Cargill. Cinematography by Brett, very odd name here. I'm going to fuck this one up. I can already tell you. Jet Jetkowitz, Jetkowitz, yeah, something like that. Edited by Frederick Thorvall. Music by Mark Corvin. Production companies were Universal Pictures, Blumhouse Productions, and Crooked Highway. It was distributed by Universal Pictures. Runtime of 103 minutes. Had a budget of anywhere between $16 and $18 million. And at the box office made 161.4 million. So very, very successful film. It's also one that seems to be liked by both critics and audience, and that doesn't always happen. So it's kind of cool when it does. 81% on Rotten Tomatoes from the critics, 88% from the audience, and then an IMDb score of 6.9 out of 10. Again, I always say this. I don't put a lot of stock in what critics say just because critics and I disagree so much when it comes to horror movies. But I do like to kind of get an overview. And so on the Rotten Tomatoes website, I found this thing called Critics Consensus, which basically just sums up critics' opinion in general. And the critics' consensus for this film is The Black Phone might have been even more frightening, but it remains an entertaining, well-acted adaptation of scarily good source material. Cast for this film, we have Mason Thames as Finney, Madeline McGraw as Gwen, Ethan Hawke as the Grabber, Jeremy Davies as Terrence, E. Roger Miller as Detective Wright, Troy Rudisill as Detective Miller, James Ransom as Max, and Miguel Cazares Mora as Robin. Few other people there in the film as well, but I'm going to stop right there. Let's talk real quick about some behind the scenes things for this movie, and then we will begin to walk through it and kind of talk about my thoughts and opinion of the film. So again, director uh, Scott Derrickson used his upbringing in suburban Denver as inspiration. Derrickson said that he grew up in a working class neighborhood that unfortunately was filled with a lot of violence, where everyone got whipped by their parents, and there was fighting on the way to school, fighting at school, and fighting on the way home from school. And yeah, that's kind of where he drew his background and things like that for this film, what he wanted for the cinematography, that kind of thing. Ethan Hawke, who plays the Grabber, originally was not interested. He didn't want to be typecast, and so after some other things that he'd been in, he did not. He wasn't initially interested in being the Grabber, but after reading the story, he really liked the story, and he did like the idea of his face being covered by a mask for the film. So he eventually did agree to go ahead. The film was shot during February and March of 2021 in North Carolina. Tom Savini, a legendary special effects guy in horror movies, helped create the mask based on kind of what Derrickson's ideas and thoughts were. And we do know there is a sequel coming later this year in October of 2025. So there's just a little bit of things about, facts or behind the scenes things, that kind of thing for the Grabber. Not a lot out there that I thought was incredibly interesting, but just a few things here I wanted to point out. So, okay, let's get into this film today. Again, I'm going to walk through this. I've broken it up into, this is kind of how I do this. I've broken it up into about 8-9 parts, and then I just kind of cover some things from those different parts and give you my opinion and feeling on this film. As always, I say this every time. When I go back and watch these movies, now that I have this YouTube channel and now that I do these reviews, and feel like, well, I still got a lot of improving that I can do, but feel like I'm starting to get decent at this. I really try to go into these and forget that I've seen them before, forget what my previous opinion might have been of the film, and watch them as if I'm watching them for the first time, and do the best I can to put myself in the moment, to appreciate what was going on at the time the film was made, to appreciate the setting for the film, and to just watch it with fresh eyes to form an opinion of it, good or bad. And so I, again, having seen this movie once before and originally just being kind of mid on it, I tried to do that again with this film this morning. So, and I purchased it primarily just to, I said I have it on Blu-ray. I bought it strictly so that I could watch it, watch some behind the scenes things, and of course, in being a collector, I like to get my hands on everything I possibly can. So, yeah, let's start to walk through this. So, our opening for the film, we get at kind of this youth baseball game. These two schools playing baseball, and our primary character Finney is the pitcher for one team. Um, there- trying to decide how much detail to go into. Another kid, Bruce, from the opposing team, ends up hitting a game-winning home run off of Finney. You can tell Finney's kind of distraught. Bruce is being celebrated, but Bruce does come up to Finney and tell him, that hey, he's a phenomenal pitcher, great arm. And they have a kind of a little bit of a moment there, and then from there we go to Bruce riding his bicycle down the street. He's hero now because he won this game. But we see a black van pull up, and then we cut to the opening credits. So basically, just kind of giving us setting this up here. One of the things I want to point off right off the bat. Opening is fine as far as what happens. I mean, we get just a little bit of an introduction to Finney. When you see this black van pull up, if you again and what you've seen trailers or whatever, what the film's about. But I really, really like the cinematography in this movie, and it could partially be because of my age. I'm 53 years old. I think this film is set. I thought I had written it down somewhere, but I'm not seeing it in my notes. I want to say this film. I believe it pops up on the screen that like 1978, something like that, is when this film is set for. Um, in 1978, I would have been 6 years old, and so. Um, I love the way this movie looks. I think they do a great job of setting the time period, because there are so many things that I see in this film, from the way neighborhoods looked, the way cars look, the way people are dressed, that just is so nostalgic for me and brings back memories. And I'm like, oh yeah, they hit that right on the head. That's exactly how things looked in the late '70s. And so, the older I get, the more I think back about younger times, and sometimes wish I could go back. Of course, the '80s is my favorite decade. I absolutely loved growing up in the '80s and the things that happened in the '80s. I wish we could all go back to the '80s, to be completely honest with you. Um, but yeah, I just really like the look of the film, and I think they do a great job of capturing that time, and you get that very early on in this film. So I wanted to point that out. I really like the way the film looks, and I really like the cinematography for this movie. Um, Score and soundtrack is not bad as well. I'll go ahead and mention that as that we get into this. So from there, after the credits roll, we again get to see Finney, and now we are as well introduced to his sister Gwen. I want to point this out real quick. Typically, I'll kind of talk about cast performance and that kind of thing there when I mention that. I didn't do that, so I want to go back here for just a moment. But um, Mason Thames is Finney and Madeline McGraw is Gwen. I feel like both of them do such an amazing job in this film. I am so impressed with the way, I believe this was Mason's first film, from what I read. I think he knocks it out of the park. I think he does a great job as Finney, and Madeline McGraw's performance as Gwen. I think it's the best performance in the movie. I also think Ethan Hawke does a great job as the grabber. He's very creepy, and I think everybody else in the movie does fine. I mean, everyone does what they need to do, and it's well acted all the way around. Um, but again, the performances of Ethan Hawke, Mason Thames, I'm probably saying that last name wrong, so I'm sorry if I am, and then especially Madeline McGraw are just so impressive to me. So again, great job as far as performances in this film. We get this little bit of action here between Finney and Gwen. They're walking home. Gwen is talking about the grabber. They see a flyer of Bruce, who is the kid that hit the home run off Finney in the very beginning of the film. we find out that Bruce has gone missing, which you get that idea from when the van pulls up, right? Um, we also kind of get over this next little bit of this movie here, kind of more insight into Finney's character. There is first he and Gwen come upon a fight where Finney's friend Robin just beats the hell out of this other kid. But we kind of see that Finney is very insecure. We see that he gets bullied a lot, and there's even a scene where three boys are about to, they approach him in the restroom and are about to attack him, and Robin comes in and saves him. So again, just kind of a little bit more insight into Finney's character. We also discovered that Gwen has been having dreams about the grabber and his abductions and these kids, and that she inherited this ability from her mother, who was very troubled by the dreams and things that she had, and we learn later ended up committing suicide because of this. The police show up at the school, and because Gwen has talked about these dreams and seems to know details, the police want to investigate her, but they also end up going to her father, Terrence, his job, and talking with him. And we learn that he's an alcoholic. He's very tore up about his wife's suicide. And we get a scene there of him telling Gwen that her dreams are not real and also actually beating her. Um, it's a very um, it's a very uncomfortable scene, to be completely honest with you. Having watched this movie twice now, again, like I said, I tried to go into it with fresh eyes, but just watching this morning, the scene there of the abuse that Gwen takes from her father is very rough and very difficult to watch. And I remember thinking that same thing when I saw it the first time when I was watching it this morning. It's a very uncomfortable scene. Um, and so it kind of gives you a very uneasy feeling as you're watching this movie, and that uneasy feeling carries on at a few moments through some things here and there. There's something I want to touch on here in just a few moments that I really like the way they do. But from there, we learn that the grabber. The next thing we see is he ends up kidnapping Robin, Finney's friend, who had protected him and saved him. And then the grabber eventually ends up taking Finney, and Finney awakens in this soundproof basement. Um, Finney finds this black rotary phone on the wall in the basement, but the grabber tells him this phone doesn't work. There's no sense in trying to use it. It's just always been there. But we see that when the grabber's not around, this phone begins to ring. And the first few times that it rings and Finney tries to answer it, it's just getting static. Not much is happening there. But eventually, um, he gets a call where there's not static, and he hears the voice of Bruce. Um, and Bruce is telling him to dig a tunnel. That there was a place there where when he was caught, he tried to dig this tunnel, and maybe Finney can continue dig this tunnel, and escape. And then we also get some scenes of Bruce, and here's kind of it almost appears that it's one of Gwen's dreams or visions. And I really like the way they do this. A lot of times when one of these kids, not to get ahead of myself, but when one of these kids ends up calling Finney, then we get to see, once the conversation is over, kind of some flashback moments, or we get to see what Gwen is seeing in her dreams, where we like in the case of Bruce here, we get to see him as a baby a little bit with his parents, and then we get to see him learning to play baseball as he grows up, and it's shot very well. I really like the way they put this together, because you're finding out about these kids being abducted, and you get to see a little bit more of their childhood, and it just makes it very sad and uneasy, really. Kind of like I was saying with that abuse scene, it makes it a very uneasy film, and gives you kind of an uneasy feeling while you're watching this movie. Finn does try to do what Bruce suggested there, where he could see if he can dig his way out of this, but he just, it appears that you have to get really deep, and he's not able. He tries a couple of times throughout the film to continue to dig here, but it just doesn't seeming to be working from him. We continue to see Gwen with her dreams and her visions, and kind of riding around on her bicycle like she's trying to find where everything is happening. From there, we kind of move on now, and again, Ethan Hawke is giving a great performance, very creepy as this grabber character. He finally he brings some food down to Finney, and he leaves the basement door unlocked. And just as Finney is beginning to try and go and escape, he gets another phone call, and this time it is from a kid named Billy, who the grabber had also kidnapped. And Billy warns Finney that this is a trap, that he has left the basement door unlocked intentionally, and that if Finney does try to escape, the grabber is waiting for him, and he's waiting with a belt, and he's going to punish him, he's going to beat him, and Billy mentions how much it hurts, and just tries to warn Finney to not do so. We see Finney almost like he's contemplating it. He starts to go up these steps. And then we do see on the other side of the door the grabber sitting in a chair waiting with a belt. And then I believe he gets another call from Billy that suggests maybe trying to crawl out of the basement window. It's very high, and so Finney's not able to reach it. He does try a few things, but eventually fails and is not able to get out the window as well. And then we get again these what Gwen is seeing and her visions of Billy. And she gets a very faint view of a house. And that will come back into play then a little bit later on. Next, Gwen decides to reach out to her father. And even though it hasn't gone well in the past, she asks her father, who is also now very torn up about Finney's disappearance, and Gwen is struggling with it, and she wants to talk to her dad. She asks him to promise that he won't get mad. And so then she begins to talk to him about her dreams. Initially, the father seems, he doesn't get angry like he promised. He tells her how these dreams and visions messed up her mother's life. Her mother ended up committing suicide, and he doesn't want Gwen to go down that same path. Whereas Gwen says that, but what if her dreams can help find Finney? And then we see a scene of the father driving her around as they're maybe trying to look for this house that she got a brief glimpse of in her vision. Finney ends up getting a call from another child whose name was Griffin. Griffin kind of reveals to Finney that he is in a gentleman named Max's basement. The cops at the same time are also investigating Max because Max seems to be incredibly obsessed with these cases. And so the cops are trying to get information from him. And we do learn that Max is the grabber's brother. Griffin also mentions to Finney and gives Finney the combination to the lock to get out the front door, and mentions if he wants to try to escape, now is the time because the grabber is asleep. Finney tries to escape. He actually is able to get the combination open and take off out the door, but about this time, the grabber's dog barks, wakes the grabber up, and the grabber ends up catching him. Before I move on, so let me kind of tell you where I'm at with this movie at this particular time. Again, really enjoying the performances. I think that, again, Ethan Hawke is doing a great job. Mason is doing a great job as Finney, and I'm incredibly impressed with Madeline McGraw's performance as Gwen. And I also found myself really enjoying this film more than I did the first time I saw it. I think it's just the movie. To me, the best word to describe this film is creepy. I think this is a very creepy movie. And it's just shot so well. And I love the scenes you get once these kids are calling Finney and talking with him. And then you get to see Gwen's visions of these kids and what happened to them. I just think it plays so well together. And like I said, gives such an uneasy feeling that while I do think the pacing could be a little better for the film, there were a couple of moments up to this point to where I'm like, okay, in some ways, this film seems a bit drawn out. In some ways, I can see how somebody might be watching this and think it's a little boring, maybe. But at the same time, I feel like they're doing just enough to keep your interest, especially with getting to see these visions that Gwen is having. Because I feel like if it wasn't for getting to see these, the film would drag more. And again, it's not a terrible. I don't think it's an incredibly slow movie. There's just a few moments here and there where I was really still trying to decide. I'm like, okay, I think I like this film better than the first time I saw it, but at the same time, there's got to be more. Like I did feel like I was wanting more in some way, but I really think it's those visions that we get that help this film along as we're going. Um, Finney then gets a call from another child named Vance. Vance was a very reckless child or reckless kid. We see, um, yeah, liked to fight a lot, was always causing trouble. Vance tells Fitty that there is a space in the wall that when he was captured, he tried to get through and get into another room. Basically, it leads to a freezer, and he is encouraging Fitty to try and do the same thing. He knows the grabber had done some repairs, but he feels like that Fitty might be able to get through this wall to get out, and so Fitty tries. Now again, he comes up short as he finds out the freezer is actually locked. So he does kind of get into the wall a little bit, but this freezer is locked and he still can't get through. And then, of course, again, we get Gwen having these visions of Vance and kind of what he threw. And she starts to get some more clues. We see Vance beat up this other kid, and then he carves a number into his arm. Um, Gwen also gets a much clearer vision now of what the house looks like. And so, she feels like she's starting to put this together of where Finney might be. Finney will then get one more phone call, and this time it will be from his friend Robin, who was taken shortly before he was. And Robin is urging Finney to fight, to stand up for himself and to fight back, and tells Finney to use everything that has happened so far to his advantage and to use the phone and to do whatever he has to do but to fight. Um, at the same time this is going on, Gwen is riding around on her bicycle again, and she finds this house that she has seen now in her visions, and she sees the number on this house. It's the same number that was carved into this other kid's arm by Vance, and so she calls the police and lets them know. Um, Max, the grabber's brother, he also puts this together and now realizes that that Finney is in his basement of his house where the cops were earlier, and so he goes to the grabber has gone to work, and so but we do get a scene of the grabber racing back to the home in his car. Um, Max goes to set Finney free, but the grabber comes up behind him and kills him with an axe. And then the grabber decides, very upset with Finney because he had to kill his own brother, and lets Finney know that he would normally use a knife, but he's going to use an axe this time. He really wants to take his time, and he wants Finney to suffer. And so the grabber goes to attack Finney. Um, at the same time, the police arrive at this house, and they get inside it. Initially, they don't find anything, but then they do find that there is a basement in this house, and they realize that the basement of this house is where the grabber has been burying the bodies of his victims. Um, Fitty is fighting back against the grabber, and he is able to use some of the things that have happened thus far to his advantage. Primarily, this hole that he had dug before to try to get out under the house. He kind of leads the grabber that way. The grabber falls in the hole, and then Finney uses the phone and some tactics that Robin had shared with him to begin to beat the grabber with this phone, and then even uses the phone cord to end up strangling the grabber and breaking his neck. And he has now killed the grabber, and Finney leaves the house. And as he walks out of the house, we realize that the place where the cops are, where they have found these bodies, is right across the street. And so as Finney walks out, Gwen is over there. She sees him, and of course she runs to him. They embrace. The cops now realize that they figured this out. The grabber had two homes, one where he buried the bodies, one where he actually killed the victims. We also see Finn and Gwen's father crying and apologizing to them for the way he has treated them, and wanting things to be better. Um, he's begging for their forgiveness. And then we cut for one more scene where now it's a little bit into the future. Finney is now a hero. We see him walking to the school. All the kids are looking at him, even some of the kids that have bullied him before. They're not bullying him anymore. And, he's much more confident. He goes into a classroom and gets to sit with his crush. And that's the end of the movie. So yeah, that's the Black Phone. Now to go back, I like the way this film wrapped up. I really like this finish. To have the scene where I like the fact that Finney is using some of these traps to catch the grabber. I do appreciate that. I like, the way he uses the hole there to get him to fall into and kind of get stuck. Um, I question a little bit that the way there and he's beating the grabber with the phone and choking him with the phone cord. I'm like, okay, I mean, this is a grown man. This kid is doing this too, and it's a phone cord, and it's a phone. Um, I don't really buy that part of the film. For some reason, I have a hard time believing um, that he would be able to completely take the grabber down with this method. Um, and again, I mean, I realize you have to suspend belief a lot and just go with things, and most of the time I'm able to do that. But that is one thing that bugs me just a little bit about this movie is I just don't buy that part. We've done this great job with this setup, and I like where we're going, but I just don't buy the way we tried to do it. However, when Vinny does become victorious and he comes out of the house, and then he sees his sister and she sees him and she runs to him and they embrace. I do like that aspect. I do like that little twist for the end of this film where we have the two houses, and the cops are actually right across the street. And so I like that little twist there at the end. I think that's very good. And then, where we get to see Finney much more confident and all at the end and with his crush, that's fine. I don't know that it was 100% necessary. I think we could have ended right there where we were, and that might would have been better. But to give us that one little scene to just show Finney in a more, confident, happy role, it's fine as well. I guess it brings a little bit of it brings a little bit more of like a happy ending to the story, to see where it's at now. But to be honest with you, this film has done such a great job of being, as I said, very creepy. I think that's the word that sums it up the best, and making you feel a little bit uneasy. That I think to try to spin it at the end, and give us this really, warm feeling, happy ending, I don't think was necessary. I think the ending would have been better had we just cut it off right there. When he sees his sister and she runs up and she hugs him and the cops run over, I think we should have ended the movie right there. I think that would have been a better ending because it's still a somewhat happy ending, but it just, I don't know. That little twist at the end is almost going, not twist, I'm sorry, that little piece at the end where we get to see him in the school and much more confident and everybody respecting him and that kind of thing. To me, it's just too much of a turn. I think I would have liked it better had we just dropped it off right there where we did. So, but again, that's just a little nitpick on my behalf. So, as I go back and I look at this, I do enjoy the film more than what I had originally thought that I did the first time I see it. I still don't think this is a great movie, but I do think this is a really good movie. Again, great performances. I like the cinematography. The story is good. There are just a few things here and there. Um, Maybe the pacing could have been a little bit better, but again, I don't think it was bad overall. Um, and there were just a few things at the end that I would like to see differently. Maybe even don't have Finney kill the grabber. Just let him fall in the hole and they kind of wrestle for a minute and Finney gets away and is able to escape that way. The grabber can't get out of the hole and then the cops catch him as well. Especially with a sequel coming up, that we know now that might have even been, be a better way to do it. And so there's just some things really with the end of this film that I would like to have seen be done differently. But again, they're just it's all little things. There's not any real major problem I have with this movie. Just a couple of little things here and there. So when I go to rate this on my scale of 1 to 10, um, if you watch my last episode where my friend Bo and I were talking about Hereditary, I made this statement that very seldom, because I'm such a slasher guy, very seldom do I give anything that's not a slasher film a 9 or a 10. That's just, the way I am, the way I do this. Um, and I've heard some people say this is a slasher. It's not, but I've heard some people say that, and I can see where they get it. But um, it's still pretty good. Do I think it deserves a 9 or a 10? No. Do I think it deserves an 8? No. But then we start getting a little better. So I think when I go back and I watch this and I look at it, this is still an enjoyable film. It's still a good film. The performances and the cinematography are my favorite parts of this film. I think I would still give the Black Phone 7.5 out of 10 is where I would rate this one. Very good movie. I'll definitely watch it again. And with the sequel coming up later this year, I might watch it again before that. Maybe try to watch it and then go see the sequel when it comes out in the theater. So yeah, I enjoyed this film. 7.5 out of 10 for me on the Black Phone. I want to know what you think. Leave me some comments. If you're not a subscriber yet, please do so. Subscribe to the channel. Hit that like button on the videos and then leave me comments. I love the interaction. For those of you that do comment and talk to me about the videos, I appreciate that so very, very much. So leave me some comments. Let me know what you think about the Black Phone. Do you like it? Do you dislike it? Do you agree with my thoughts on it? Do you have a different feeling? And feel free to comment on my channel in general. If you have suggestions, things you think I could do better or differently, or if there's a movie that, you might want to see me do a review on, let me know. You also follow me on social media. I am on pretty much everything out there. I'm on Blue Sky. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Threads now. I'm on X. I'm on TikTok. I also have a letterbox, and you can pretty much find me at anything just by looking up Sean's Horror Corner. X is the one thing that's different. Sean's Horror Corner is too many characters, so it's just my Horror Corner on X. But yeah, give me a follow on social media. I do try to follow back as much as possible. Again, subscribe to this channel if you haven't done so. I typically put out videos twice a week and then sometimes a third time, but Monday and Thursday always, and then an occasional Saturday video as well. I try to post links and everything to all of my upcoming videos, so on the social media accounts, so feel free to share those. And yeah, just again, thank you so much for the support. And in just a couple of days, I'll be back and I will be on here to do a live with my friends. So I hope that you'll join us for that and we can interact that way as well. Thank you so much again for watching. I will see you soon.